Welcome back. 2020 is finally coming to an end after a tumultuous 12 months of shutdowns, protests, and political street fighting like we've never seen before.
Fox News anchor Bill Hemmer has all the details on the biggest stories from the past year.
2020, one of the more turbulent years in American history, dominated by racial violence, political instability, and a global pandemic that hit America hard. Those stories and many more dominating the headlines in a year like no other.
On Capitol Hill, the trial of the decade getting underway.
The Senate will be in order.
President Trump's impeachment trial kicking off in the Senate. He was accused of obstructing Congress and abuse of power, following revelations that he asked the president of Ukraine to investigate the Bidens. But the Democrats could not convince their Republican colleagues that amounted to a crime. And the president was acquitted after a 2-week trial. And during the impeachment, reports of a mysterious new virus starting to emerge from the city of Wuhan in China. The virus, officially named COVID-19 about a month later, spreading quickly throughout Asia. On January 20th, the first U.S. cases reported in the state of Washington, prompting the president to issue a travel ban to and from China. The coronavirus outbreak accelerating rapidly throughout the winter. The World Health Organization declaring a public health emergency in January and a pandemic in the month of March. Just 2 days later, the White House declaring a national emergency here in the U.S. Countries around the world going into lockdown to try and stop the spread. But by April, there were more than 1 million confirmed cases worldwide. The outbreak taking a major toll on the economy. The stock market suffering its biggest crash since the Great Depression, and job losses have been staggering. Tens of millions out of work as businesses close their doors. Unemployment peaking at more than 14% in the month of April. Congress responding with the CARES Act, a multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package aimed at helping small businesses survive. COVID also looming large over the presidential race. The outbreak dominating the debate as Democrats vetted potential opponents to President Trump. In April, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders backing out, making Joe Biden the presumptive nominee. Biden then picking California Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate. This amateur video sparking a protest movement that is still in motion. George Floyd killed after Minneapolis police leaned on his neck for more than 8 minutes. The video going viral, prompting widespread protests against police brutality in dozens of American cities. Some of those protests turning violent. At the end of May, at least a dozen states calling up the National Guard to help restore the peace. President Trump strongly condemning the protesters, sending federal officers into cities where he claimed police were standing down. Over the next few months, the debate shifting, with multiple calls to, quote, defund the police. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg losing her battle to cancer at the age of 87, setting up a confirmation battle only weeks before a national election. President Trump nominating Judge Amy Coney Barrett to replace Ginsburg, drawing criticism from congressional Democrats. They pointed out Republicans would not consider a nomination from President Obama during an election year. Despite the controversy, Barrett eventually was confirmed in a party line vote. A big October surprise this year, President Trump announcing he tested positive for COVID-19. The president hospitalized for several days before making a complete recovery. About a month later, Pfizer announcing its vaccine candidate was more than 90% effective in clinical trials. That was followed by positive data from 2 other candidates, Moderna and AstraZeneca. The UK approving Pfizer's vaccine for widespread use at the beginning of December, followed shortly by American regulators granting emergency use authorization. And of course, the presidential election dominating the news for much of the fall. The candidates meeting for a rowdy first debate at the end of September.
Will you shut up, man?
It was a campaign like no other in American history. Joe Biden mostly sticking to small events with isolated crowds. And President Trump resuming his signature rallies. COVID also playing a big role at the ballot box. Tens of millions of Americans opting to vote early or by mail. And on Election Day, President Trump claiming victory after early reports showed him in the lead. But all those mail-in votes slowed the counting process. And several days later, when the results were in, Fox News declared Joe Biden the winner. President Trump refusing to concede, claiming widespread voter fraud, sending his legal team scrambling to produce the evidence. But those challenges have been rejected by the courts. The president now reportedly considering another White House run in 4 years.
Looking forward now to 2021, COVID expected to dominate the headlines once again as the biggest vaccination project in American history now gets underway. We're also keeping a close eye on President-elect Biden and his plan to revive the economy. And of course, we will be here for all of it. In New York, Bill Hemmer, Fox News.